Everyone, I'm Michael. I'm going to be your presenter for this morning's session. Welcome along to one of the webinars in our Report Designer 2025 Digital Badge series. Today we're looking at session number 2. Hopefully you got a chance to attend session number 1. But today we're looking at session number 2. It's all about personalizing your invoices and your other layouts. So this is where we find most people start when their involvement with the Report Designer. So it'd be things like, how do I add a logo to my invoice? How do I add my bank details to the bottom of the invoice so my customers can pay me online? So that type of thing. So we're going to look at the very basics today, the basic design tools that you're likely to use just to personalize it a little bit. We're not looking at the main bodies of invoices and the different sections and groups. That's something that's available in the Help Center and other webinars. This is really just I suppose, the introduction to personalizing your invoices. Right, so before we get stuck in, here's a little bit of housekeeping just for this morning's session. So don't need a microphone. If you do have one and you've enabled it, you will find it's muted automatically. Does mean you can't unmute yourself. So any questions that you might have for me today, you'll need to pop them into the questions panel. You might need to bear with me on the questions today as well. It's just myself on the session at the moment. So pop your questions and your comments in there. I'll try and react to them as you do submit them. And I will hang around and try and pick some of them at the end as well. If I don't get a chance to answer your question, apologies in advance. I'll drop you an email at some point later today. There is also an opportunity to download a copy of today's slides. So do take that opportunity during the session. A link will be included to them on the follow-up email as well. That's something that we're trying to do for the badge series. Normally they're not available any other time. Just a note there as well, just to mention the session is being recorded. A link to the recording will be included on your follow-up email. You get that. I tend to always do it around about an hour after you finish. It goes automatically. So watch out for that one. It will also include a link so you can get registered for the upcoming webinars and also so you can access other recordings as well. These are the sessions that we are running at the moment though for the Report Designer badge. Some of you may have done these sessions before where we have run them previously. Just updated the content a little bit. So it gives you, again, the idea is to give you a bit of an insight into the workings of Report Design and give you an idea of the kind of things that you can do to it. So we're on session 2 today. Still to come, we've got tables and variables, expressions, sections and groups, criteria and filters. So looking at a number of aspects of reporting in Sage. And then we end the series with a quiz. If you attend any 5 of those sessions along with the quiz, you will earn that digital badge. If you did attend some of them last month, they will just be merged as well. So they will contribute to that, just in case you're trying to do a top up this month. So don't feel if you've attended the expressions session that you need to attend it again to get the badge. That will be taken into account when we issue the badge. Right, let's have a look at what we're covering in today's session. So it doesn't look like much this one, but loads to get through. So quite a small agenda. So brief introduction. We're then going to run through the basics of editing a report or a layout. So opening it, amending it, saving it. And also we're going to go through the basic design tools as well. So I'll explain more about what those are, those basic design tools, when we get into the Report Designer itself. And then just at the end, we'll explain more about the additional support, and there's loads available for Report Designer, whether you want to develop complex expressions or add new criteria and groups and sections and whatever it is you want to do, you should find loads of information available via our Help Center. And of course, if there's anything outstanding, I'll try and pick those up as well. But let's get stuck in because there's loads to get through in this morning's session. Now, if you've never touched the Report Designer, we don't touch that in session number 1. We just think about things in session number 1 about what can we do to support the generation of reports to make sure that we get the information that we're after. But the Report Designer itself, really powerful tool. So it's almost like separate software in its own right. It enables you to create and amend reports and layouts in Sage 50 accounts. Now we are, again, just to re-emphasize that point, we're going to concentrate on a layout today, but essentially what we learned today, you would be able to apply to reports as well. And although we will be concentrating on an invoice layout today, because that's where most people start, so it'll be applicable to more of you, you can apply the same options to a sales order, purchase order, credit note, remittance advice, basically any other layout within the software, customer statements as well. Now, with layouts, the best bit of advice I can always give you when it comes to things like invoices and statements is you do not have to reinvent the wheel. There are loads of layouts and reports for that matter that are provided for you. So always best to find one that's closest to what you want and then edit it, make amends. As you'll see when we start editing a layout, if you've never been in the report designer before, they look quite complex, and they are. They can be. They can take ages to set up and get right if you're starting from scratch. So always find the one that's closest to what you want and then make amends to it. But be creative, and I always say this as well. Have a look at the invoices that you receive. What do you like about them from a design perspective? Also, information perspective. Is there anything on the invoices that you receive that actually you look at yours and you think, oh, I haven't got that information on mine? So things like an email address, you might not include your telephone number. You might, things like opening closing times. You might have details of special offers, products and services that you offer. Could that be included on yours? So have a look at that. Take a bit inspiration from them. Even just the look and feel of that invoice. What do you like about it? Could you make yours look like that? So again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just look at a one that you like, and yeah, I want mine to look like that. And then, of course, use our online resources. There's loads available. Paul, you mentioned there, can this session be used for nominal ledger reports as well? Yes, however, what you tend to find with what we're covering today, so when we're looking at the basic design tools, so personalizing your invoice layout, it's a lot less likely that you're going to try and personalize a report. So by personalizing, I mean things like adding a logo, adding your bank payment, your payment terms to the bottom of your invoices, that type of thing, adding boxes and lines and changing fonts and things. You tend to find, you could use it, but you tend to find this is probably going to be more applicable to the layout side of things. Now, what I'll quickly do before we get stuck in, I'm going to pop a poll on your screen. So if you don't mind, let me know, have you used Report Designer before? Just give me a simple yes or no. And remember to submit your answer. So I'll just give you about 30 seconds or so, just to see sort of what responses I get from that. Doesn't matter whether you have or not. I'm more interested in just to gain a bit of an insight. So have most people used it before? And how many people have maybe never used it before? Some of you that have used it will be probably a more in-depth information than what this series of webinars will cover. But this is really an introduction to the report designer itself. Others, you might have just dabbled with it. You just want a little bit of reassurance that what your understanding is about it is right. Maybe some of you will pick up some tips along the way as well. And others, you'll be thinking, well, I've never touched it before, let's have a look. And then you'll probably get that big divide from that point as well, thinking, well, I'll give it a go, or others just thinking, oh, I'm not touching that. It's too complicated for what I want. Right, so just about, well, we've got over 90% of you voting there, which is really high for these votes. So still got your attention at this point. So you can see we've got 65% of you saying, yeah, you have. So about 2/3 of you, and about 1/3 of you saying you haven't. Right, let's get stuck in then. So we'll pile into the demonstration. I'll share my screen and we'll basically get stuck in. So as I mentioned, what I'm going to do today I'm going to concentrate on an invoice layout. As I say, it's where most people start. Diana, you mentioned there, and I think it was you that I responded to, Diana. Do let me know via the email that I've already messaged you about adding that second page. So if it just let me know via the email that I sent you, whether it's standard sort of terms and whether you email or print them. Right, okay, so got my screen shared. Now I'm going to, as I say, I'm going to concentrate on an invoice layout. So I'm just going to highlight one. It doesn't matter which one at this stage. If you don't have anything highlighted, you'll find your print option at the top is grayed out. So make sure you've got one highlighted. If you've got nothing in your invoices list yet, then it will just be a case that to access what we're going to do today, you're going to need to add one, even if it's a dummy invoice. So I'm going to highlight one. Just going to click print. It'll take me into the layouts folder. By default, it defaults to favorites. I've not got anything added there at the moment, so I just click layouts on the side there. So as I say, you've got loads and loads of layouts. So I think if you're on an up-to-date version, you'll probably have the A4 ones followed via some email. Others, if you're on maybe an older version, you might even still have the 11-inch layouts that were listed. All of them show something slightly different. Some are designed for printing on plain paper. Some are designed for emailing. Some will show euro total, tax breakdown. Some will show with EC VAT description. Some will show with discount, without discount. So it's a case of you run through that, and maybe when you generate an invoice, does it include what you're after? So I'm just going to select this one today. And what I'll do is I'm going to click edit at the top. So this is going to open the design of that layout within the report designer. Now this is where, if you've never used the report designer before, you've never been in, you can, whoa, lots of information here. Where on earth do I start? But again, we are just covering those basics today. Now, just quickly running through to give you a rough idea of what this design looks like and what's on there. So we got loads of sections, groupings on here as well. We go into groups and sections in a later session when we look at reports. So we got what we term our sort of invoice number header section. So this bit at the top here, where if you think about an invoice, what you'd likely see in that section is things like name, address, and basic details, like the invoice number, the invoice date, customer order number, account reference, that type of thing. So that's what we've got up here. We then, if we just scroll down a little bit, we've got the complex part of the layout, which again, I'm not going into today. Again, this is one of the reasons I would say, try and find a layout that's close to what you want and then tweak it as opposed to starting from scratch. You imagine trying to set that up yourself, probably take you ages. And then if we scroll right down to the bottom, you've got your invoice number footer section. So this is where you'd traditionally, on the bottom of your invoice, obviously you'd have your totals, and you might have things like your delivery address. Delivery address these days, you might put that at the top of your invoice. So these are variables or bits of text at the moment. So variables just essentially will pull information through. Excuse me. So it's going to pull information through. If anyone's old enough, or as old as me, you might remember when you probably did mail merge at some point between the likes of a spreadsheet and Word. It's the same principle. That sort of Dell name or the sort of the invoice tool, it's going to pull information through from your database of information. But again, we want to concentrate on the basics today. So I'll just go back to the top. Right, now when we're in here, we're going to be making amends to this one. So I'm going to add things like a logo, I'll add some text, just so you can see the basic design tools in action. Now, before I do that, It's worth mentioning for your reports and layouts in Sage that they are essentially they're flagged as read-only, all the defaults. So you can't overwrite them. So if you do make changes, you're going to need to do a save as. It will force you to do that. Then once you've saved it with a different file name, if you make changes in the future, you can just update that one. That's not a problem. But initially, they will be flagged as save as. Now, before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Report at the top, so the Report menu, and I'm going to go to Report Properties. And it brings up this little box here, the report name, report description. So this is what appeared on that list of layouts. Now I'm just going to change that, and I'll put my initials in there, and we'll just do 0210 25. I'll put on as well, just so I can identify that. You can call it what you want though. And in the report description, I'm just going to call it Michael's invoice layout. You might put your company name in just so you can spot it, and we'll just OK that. So to do that, it was just report properties, and then just pop in your name and description, whatever you want that to be. Then just OK that. Now, before I make any changes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that file save as. You'll see the traditional sort of save button. That looks like an old floppy disk, if anyone remembers those. That's grayed out at the moment. It's not active, and that's because it is still a default layout, this one. So if I go to File, again, Save is grayed out on the File menu. So I choose Save As. Now this gives me the relevant folder, which is going to be quite lengthy, the path to that. Don't worry about that. So even if you delete what's there at the moment, it will still go into the correct folder. So again, I'll just call it, I'll put today's date in, just so it sticks out like a sore thumb, hopefully. Easy spot it. I'll just save it. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly close out of it. So we haven't made any changes to the design of the layout just yet. And I'm going to try and find it on the list here. So here it is at the bottom. Your layout generally should be in alphabetical order by name. So here it is, and to save me coming in and having to scroll up and down to find it, I'll flag it as a favorite. And all that means is when we come into the print option, because it defaults to the favorites folder, my layout is listed. So this is the one I'm going to make some changes to today. So we'll highlight it, click Edit. Takes me back into the design of the invoice, and we're going to make some changes. Now the first one we're going to do is we're going to add a logo. Traditionally, probably in the top right-hand corner, but it could be anywhere these days. You can have it center, top left, entirely up to you. Again, you can be as creative as you want. Now we're going to use these options from this sort of basic design toolbar. So we got add text, draw line, draw box, add image logo, and add data field. They're the 5 that we're going to be touching on in today's session. Now, if you can't see this toolbar, you've got the same options available via the toolbox menu. So again, add text, draw line, box, image, add data field. So if you can't see that toolbar, or maybe you can see it, but you don't want to see it, just give it a little bit more space. Just find a blank part of the toolbar, right click, and it's this one we're after, Toolbox Basic. So if you can't see it, just right click, switch it back on. So they're the ones we're going to be using in today's session. Now this one, it has some information in the top already. Now what I'm going to do for this one, I'm just going to highlight these and just move them out of the way for now. Just going to drag them down into a different position, just to free up a little bit of space for when I insert that logo. So to add our company logo, as I say, this is probably where most people start with the report designer. We're just going to click Add Image / Logo. Just give it a click, and then move your mouse pointer roughly to where you want to insert that. You'll see we get that bold cross. And all I do is I just click at that point. Brings up this choose an image window, gives us a number of options. I would always say just accept those defaults for that one. So it's going to let me browse my PC in a moment just to find that image. And what I want it to do is I want us to store that image in the essentially the layout itself, in the layout file. We'll just leave that ticked. So it's then just a case I need to browse for it. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Got the preview option on the right there as well. So mine is on my desktop, and I should have a logos folder somewhere. There we go. So find your logo that you want to use. So I just click on that one. And we'll click open. And it should load that for me. So it's quite small. We can resize it. Now it could be that I'm just happy with that and I'm quite happy with the position. So if I was, I would just click off it. But yeah, I want to make it a bit bigger and pop it in the top right-hand corner. So to do that, just click it again. See, it puts the sort of the highlight box around it with the buttons. If I hover over the corner, you'll see that the mouse pointer changes at that point, and I can resize it at that point. So let's say I want that. Again, if I was happy with that, I can click off it. But I want to position it as well. So if I click back to highlight it, put your mouse in the middle this time, you get that sort of 4 arrowhead mouse pointer, and then I can just drag that around. It's just a case of dropping it into the right position. So let's say I'll go there. And if I'm happy, I can just click off it. If you're finding sometimes a little bit of trial and error when you're designing invoices, things like, do things hit the box, or I need to nudge it into position. So if you find when you're dragging it that actually it's a little bit too sensitive with the mouse, what you can do is just highlight it and then use your cursor keys just to sort of nudge it into position for where you want it. And then again, when you're happy, we just click off that. Now what I do have, I've got this little preview button at the bottom. Now what I would say, if you've got hundreds, if not thousands of invoices already entered, save your changes, close out of your layout, so this method. So save your changes, close out of the report designer. Again, get back to your invoice layout, maybe highlight 1 or 2, and then go back to print, find your layout, and then if you preview it, just so you can see what that now looks like. So if I was happy with that, great. If not, we can start making more changes. So still with the layout highlighted, we'll click edit, take us back into the report designer. It'll open the layout back up. And again, from here, I can just highlight it, drag it round, nudge it with the cursor keys, etc. Now, the other way of previewing that would be to click this option at the bottom. Now, if I click that preview option at the bottom so I can see what it looks like, so I can see that, that's fine. But the thing to be aware of is here at the bottom, it tells me page 1 of 86, and that's because I've got 86 invoices entered. So if you've got hundreds, if not thousands of invoices on your invoices list, do be aware if you use this preview option at the bottom, it will do it for your entire list. So that may take a little while to run through, which is why if you are in that position, save your changes, close out of the report designer, and then at that point, that's when you would be able to just preview 1 or 2 invoices. So just so you can see what that looks like. I haven't got that many, which is why I've used that preview little button at the bottom. So I'm just going to click it again. Let's switch me back to what we term the designer view. And then we can start making additional changes. So that's inserting a logo. You can insert as many as you want. So easy to change as well. If I needed to change my logo at some point, just come in, I would highlight it, I just delete on the keyboard, and that's it done. I go to insert it again. add image, click approximately where I want that to be. Okay, that. Just browse to wherever your logo is held. I'll just use the same one. You can resize it, nudge it into position, and that's it done. You might add trade logos, so you can pop them on there. You might even have a picture of like a new product or something. Pop that on, a little bit of advertising. So all sorts of things you can do. Again, have a good look through at those invoices you receive and what have they got on there. Sometimes see where people have put banners sort of across their invoice. It'll list the types of services that they offer, or maybe special offers that they have. So almost like a little bit of marketing on the invoices that they send out. Right, next we're going to add some text. So this is the other thing, or this, I suppose, the second part that you're most likely to come across. Now, if I just preview this again, and you can see in the top right-hand corner, we've got things like one, it's got the date in here, we've got a reference number, whatever that is, and we've got another reference number. So you probably know what they are, and sometimes they might be obvious, but if you're printing on plain paper or if you're emailing out, you'd probably want some text to the left of these. If you're printing on stationery, you might have that pre-printed as to say, right, this is the invoice number. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a bit of text, and you can add text for just about anything. Obviously, the idea of adding text is it's static information. So titles, column headings, your bank details maybe, contact details, maybe opening closing times. So things that you want to be the same on each and every invoice. You can always go in and change the text if needed, but it means that when you select your layout, it'll include that information. Right, let's get back to design view, and what we'll quickly do is we'll add some headings in, some text headings for this bit of information down the right. So we're going to click add text at the top. Again, it's available via the toolbox menu as well. Move your mouse to approximately where you want to insert that, and just move your mouse pointer and give it a click. At that point, we'll get a box and we can start typing. Now, I'm not worried about the look of it just yet. I just need to make sure that it's got the right information in it. So make sure there's no typos in there. So I'm just going to type invoice number. I'll do it again. So click add text, click approximately where you want to insert that. Just again, make sure you've got the text right. I'll put a capital D on date. If you do spot a typo, you can double click it. You'll get a flashing cursor on that text, and you can start amending it if required. Just put that back in. We'll add a text a bit more. We'll do order number. And then finally, we'll do one for account reference. So I've got that text in there now. So again, if I just previewed it, it would look like this. So you can see it pulls that text through. Doesn't look great. It's not aligned very well. And sort of style-wise, doesn't match the column headings, for instance. So I want it to be a bit more consistent. So what I can do, just to make them look the same, first of all, is if I click onto one of the headings, so quantity in this case, the bit of text that would appear at the top of that column heading. What it will do, it will show me this style attached, shows me the font size, in this case, whether it's in bold as well. But all of this it would be a style, that in this case, the title style. So I'm going to apply that style to these four options here. So just click it, and to make it look the same, just from the drop down, I just reselect title, and it'll put it in the right format for me. Now you'll see, because it's slightly bigger and in bold, it doesn't quite fit in the box now. Now I can manually resize the box, or alternatively, I can just double click it and it'll auto resize that box so it fits all of that information in there. Now I'm just going to repeat that for each of the others as well. So I'll just reselect title as the style. Do that for each of them. Again, I'll just double click them to resize the box so all of the information is then displayed. So it now looks like, if we preview it, it now looks like this. They're not aligned yet. But it makes it nice and easy. Another way you could do that as well, so you don't have to keep repeating the style, is what I could have done. And it sort of links in with Katrina's comments as well. Is there no format painter tool? The other option you can do is just right click it. I could copy it and then again paste it, and it means it's already in the same format as what I'm after. And then I could just double click it and obviously change the text if required. Just get rid of that one. So it's another way around that. It's as far as I'm aware, there's not a format painter option on there. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to just align it. So now again, similar to the logo, we can click onto the text and drag it round, position it where we want it. Now you'll see when you drag an object around your layout that you get these blue sort of alignment guides. So you can see what things are aligned against. So that one, I want the tops to be aligned. And then when I release the mouse, I'm going to say that's the right position. Now I could do that for each of them in turn if I wanted to. The other thing you can do is highlight the one that's in the correct position. So I'm going to say this is the right height, this one, vertically. And I want this one to be aligned as well. So the one that's in the sort of the correct position, I'll click that one first, hold down the Control key, I'll click the second one. So this is the one that I want to align against this one. And then I just go to Format, Alignment, and then I'm going to choose Top. And you'll see it just nudges this so it's at the right height. I'll quickly repeat that. Actually, I'll just drag them a little bit quicker. But they're now all at the right height. I'll also want to align them beneath each other so it looks a bit more professional. So I'm going to say this one's in the right position. So I'll highlight that one. Hold down the Control key. I'll click onto the other three. And then we'll pop into Format, Alignment, and we'll do Right. And again, it just nudges them into position. If I'm happy, just sort of click off it onto a blank part of the layout. It deselects everything. Let's have a quick look now. And again, you can see that looks a lot better now. On that text that was all over the place and no particular style attached to it, rather compared to what we've now got. Again, you can play around with that if you need to. So a bit of sometimes, as I said, there's that bit of trial and error for that one. Now, text could be used for a number of different things. Again, have a good look through those invoices that you receive. What information do they include that maybe you don't? So if you just have a quick look at this layout, what we've got is we've got these variables at the top. So this one pulls through my company name, my address information, and also my VAT reg number. But it doesn't include any contact details at this stage. So telephone number, email address, website address, that type of thing. So I could insert that as text. So I could just, again, add text, maybe click wherever I want that to be inserted. Might move things around as well, just to make a bit of space. Or we could, because it is information that is recorded within the software, so within Sage 50 accounts, let's say I've got my telephone number recorded, I could add that as a data field. So I want it to pull that through as opposed to just being a bit of text. So with things like telephone numbers, because it is static information, essentially. It's not going to change between invoices. You could just add that as text if you wanted to. But I'm going to add mine as a data field. So we click Add Data Field at the top. Click roughly where we want to insert that. So we want to put the telephone number beneath the VAT registration number. Just give it a click and you'll get this Add Data Field window pop up. Now we're going into data fields, so tables and variables, in a lot more detail in our next session. So you'll have a much better understanding then. Now, what we need to do is we need to first of all select the table. So in this case, it relates to my company. So that information is held within the company table. If it related to the likes of the customer record itself, then we'd go down and we'd be looking in this case for the sales ledger table. But in this case, it's the company table. If I just expand that, it'll then give me a list of all of the potential bits of information that I can pull through. So my address information. If you scroll down, we've got things like your country code and delivery addresses and telephone numbers and all the types of information that's stored about your company within the likes of your company preferences area. Now what we're after is the telephone number. So we'll just select that one, click OK, and it pops it on for me. Now we're in the same position. We want it to look the same as this. So I'll just click onto one that is already entered there. It tells me it's header 1. I'll just highlight that one. I'll reselect header 1 and it should just make sure it's in the same format then. And then again, I'm back to the alignment options. I can drag that, try and get it in position. Or remember, you've got if you highlight say VAT reg number first, hold down your control key, click onto telephone, highlights them both. If I then go to format, alignment, and then we'll do left this time. It just nudges it in position. But also remember, you highlight it, you've then got the cursor key, so you can just nudge it into position there as well. You might even, at this stage, you probably want a bit like over here where we had random numbers and stuff that we didn't know what they were. So again, you'd probably want to put a little bit of text in front of that. So we'll quickly do that, add text, click. Just add that bit of text in there. I'll make it look the same. So again, header 1 I want it to be, so click onto Telno. Reselect header 1 from the style drop down, should make it look the same. So same font, same size, same color, etc. And then we'll just sort of nudge it into position. Again, you've got the alignment options should you need that. Now what that would look like, again, preview your changes. Remember, if you've got hundreds or thousands of invoices, save your changes, close out, then come back in. And it will just give you an idea what that would look like. Again, you could change alignment, move it, colors, whatever you want really at that point. Now, if it was a case you wanted to add things like bank details, I suppose traditionally you would find that at the bottom of your invoice. So just scroll down your layout, find a gap. You might think there, you might not use delivery addresses. Just drag a box around those and then to highlight them, press delete. And I've just freed up some space then. And then again, I could add text and say, along the lines to Pierce online, use the following details, etc. And you could put all of that in there. And when you generate that invoice, it would include that information. It means that your customer's not then sort of having to contact you. I need to make a payment. What's your details? You're just including those details by default. If you want to change it, or if you spot a typo, just remember you can double click it, change whatever you need to, and that's it. A quick question for Julie there. Is the blue border around the edge of the page relevant to anything? It used to be for printing. So this would give you an idea of the sort of the printable area, this border. You can, if you want, let me see if I can get it, pop into the properties panel, see if I can find it. Find the divide there. Sometimes it's hard to get hold of. There we go. I've got something selected. I'll come back to that one. There's a way you can switch that off. Anyway, you've got your text on there. So think about your text. It's not necessarily just for adding information at the top. Bank details, so people could pay you online. Again, if you want to do a little bit of advertising, it might be a seasonal message that you want to pop on. You're coming up to Christmas. It might be special offers that you have. Opening closing times for over the sort of the Christmas period. If you shut down, you do like a factory fortnight type thing. You can do that. Again, have a good look through your invoice, compare it to invoices you receive. What's on there that maybe isn't on yours. Final options that I want to quickly mention, they are very similar, is the draw line and the draw box option. So draw line, just click on it, point your mouse to where you want to start drawing that line, just drag that out, and it'll put that line in for you. You can then, if you want to, if you're happy with that, obviously it's a bit slanted at this point, just click off it, click back on it. It means that you can highlight it. If I highlight it, I can just drag one of the buttons and I can resize it, as well as changing whether it's horizontal or not. Oh, all over the place today. Right, let's just say that's about right. It's not very right, but actually we'll just make it a bit longer. I'll leave it at that. Now, if I want to, let's say I want to move it beneath the column headings. You click on it again, puts the button at either end, and rather than pointing at the button this time, if I point at another part, it means I can drag it into position. And I've got the same options available for moving things around. If you find you're not quite accurate enough with the mouse, then again you can use your cursor keys just to nudge it into position. If you wanted to, you can highlight it again. So I can get it, there we go. And then you've got the properties panel at the top. So when you highlight something, go into properties, it'll give you the properties of that specific thing. So we've got an option here for line style. Let's just make that a little bit wider. So for this line that we've got selected in properties, click onto the options over here for the line style. And it's, what do you want? Do you want to make it a little bit thicker? Do you want to change the color of that line? So let's just choose that red. And obviously the width, the style, etc. If I was happy with that, just click off it. Just pin that back to the sides. And then we can see it's made that change. So I just take another quick look and then it's in there. It's up to you again, be as creative as you want. Go back to the design view. Boxes are pretty much the same. So if I click draw box, let's say I want to box around this part here, or you might put box around the sort of the customer's name and address. It's entirely up to you what you want to do with that. You might even do loads of boxes to split up this information, or a box plus maybe lines to do the intersection. But again, if I just drag that box out, release the mouse, click off it. It could be something as simple as that. But if I highlight the box, go back into properties, again, you've got loads of options here. You've got the border style, you've got the background style. Click on it, you can view it. It's transparent at the moment. Let's choose light salmon. Never thought of that as one of my favorite colors, but it's on there. If I click off it, again, it could be as simple as that. So not only can you change the border color, the line around the outside, but you can also change the background, sort of the fill color as well. If you want to change it back, just highlight it, back into properties, find the background option. And then if I change that, and I'm just going to go back to transparent. Transparent's always at the top. Just okay that, and we're back to where we were. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of food for thought for what you can, the kind of thing that you can do to your invoices and other layouts for that matter. The question from earlier, can you do this to your nominal reports or other reports for that matter? Yes, you could, but probably a little less likely that you are going to do that for your reporting side, but definitely your invoices. So think about your remittances, your statements, invoices, credit notes, all of those you can personalize in pretty much the same way. Just a case of finding your layout, highlighting your layout, clicking edit, and it'll open the design of that within the report designer itself. Right, now it sort of brings us towards the end of the demonstration, so I'll come back to some of the questions in a moment. Abby's joined us and has picked up quite a few of the questions. Keep your questions busy though, sorry, keep your questions coming and keep Abby busy, I should say. If I just pop back to the slides for a moment. So loads of information in our help center, again, covering those basics. So the adding your logo, adding text, adding data fields, drawing lines and boxes. So if you want it, that's where you'll find it. If you've got any final questions, quickly pop them in there. I'll try and pick someone up in just a moment. Again, there's the handout you can download if you want that. It will be included on the follow-up email though, along with a link to today's recording if you need a bit of a recap. Loads of webinars on the go at the moment. We are scheduled currently up until the end of October. So if you are interested, get yourself signed up. If you haven't yet signed up for the rest of the webinar series to earn your digital badge, please do so. The next session will be next week. So that's going to be looking at tables and variables. We're covering expressions next week as well. We're just starting to look at adding calculations to your reports and your layouts. So again, get signed up for those. Just head along to sage.co.uk/webinars. The link to sign up and to watch recordings will be included on your follow-up email. So before we open up to questions, many thanks for coming along. For those that are watching the clock need to get away, thanks for coming along. As I say, hopefully it's given you a little bit of food for thought. Do have a look at your invoices, even if you're thinking at this stage, well, I'm not going to touch that. Have a good look at your invoices. Is there anything missing? Are there any opportunities to maybe just advertise your additional products and services? So I mentioned about having possibly a band across the top of your invoice at some point. You can do that. Add your box in there. Make some space. Put your box across. Fill it in. Put in a different color. Maybe use your company brand color. Put some text on top of it. So loads of options for you. Let me know how you get on. And if you do get really stuck, remember our support team's there as well. Claire, you just mentioned that just what you needed as your company's just rebranded. Yeah, so hopefully it shouldn't take you too long to do that. Only thing is you need to remember is that, you know, each of your layouts would need to be done. If you want to really apply your company brand to your layouts, you'll need to go through each of the layouts in turn. And when you are finished, I always mention this one. When you are finished, I want to mention this so much. I'm going to show you this one. When you finish amending your layouts or your reports for that matter, back them up. When you exit the software, you'll be familiar with backing up your data, but go to File, click the backup option. There is an option here to back up your layout templates. back up your layouts only. Similarly, if you designed reports, do a reports only backup. But in this case, back up your layouts. Give it a name, whatever you want to call it. Let's keep it simple. Sage layouts. Choose your location, wherever you want to store that file. So I'll just put mine on my desktop. Let that run through. It does prompt you. You've not included any data files, so that's fine. I just want to back up my layouts only at this stage. Tells me it's been successful, and that's it. So if someone did come along, or I go and I make amends, further amends to my invoice layout, and I make it look absolutely awful, and I think, oh, I just want to undo what I've done. If you've saved any changes, you can't then undo that. The only way you could would be to restore that layouts only backup. So cover your back. You can spend a lot of time, or you can invest a lot of time getting your invoices to look right. So once you're finished, take that backup. Layouts only. If you're ever in that position, you'll probably drop me an email thinking, I'm glad you mentioned that one. It saves me so much time. You restore that layouts only backup, you're back to where you were. Dawn, you mentioned there, right? I'm going to try and pick up on a few questions just at this stage. So Dawn's just mentioned there, you've got two invoices saved, but when you email them, one of them isn't including your product description. Is an error on your setup? Yes, it would be. It's just to do with the design of your layout. If you need to, get in touch with our support team. They'll probably need to escalate that query to our report team. Excuse me. But do get in touch. They'll be able to maybe get your layout in so they can have a look at that one. Let's see what else we've got. We had loads early on that we missed. Let's have a quick look. Paul, you mentioned earlier as well, using your email layout, some of your product codes are long and they run into the description field. How can you address that? Again, it's to do with the design of your layout. So, excuse me, just go back to the invoice layout again. Actually, I'll just edit the same one, so we'll edit that one. So this is where you go into essentially the main body, and there was someone mentioned about rearranging columns as well and getting rid of information. So if it's like this where things overlap, you might find out when you go in that you see your description field is something like that, where it's actually a lot wider, so that when you do come to use that layout, potentially if it does use those extra characters, it would go over the top of this particular unit price variable. So it's just a case of almost like playing around with that. But if you do need some advice on it, again, do get in touch with our support team. And that was the other question about rearranging your columns as well, where you didn't want the VAT to be the last column. It's just a case of rearranging everything. Or if there was certain information that you don't want to use, so let's say I didn't use quantity because maybe I'm service-based, I could highlight the heading, get rid of it, and then it would just be a case of coming down and removing sort of the quantity variables that's going to pull that information through onto my invoice when I generate it. And then it's just a case of sort of aligning everything to where you want it to be, and that would include the order of your columns as well. But again, do be careful with that one. Even if it's your own layout, do a file save as, maybe work on the copy of it rather than the original, just in case you make a bit of a mess of it. Right, I think we're ready just to wrap up at that point. I'll have a good look through those questions, and if there's anything I haven't been able to answer or Abby hasn't picked up, we'll just drop you an email later today. Right, so We'll end the webinar just at that point. Once again, many thanks for coming along. Hope it's given you a little bit of food for thought, bit of inspiration. Have a good look at those invoices and see what you need to change. You probably look and think, oh, we haven't included our email address or phone numbers, and it's never been on there. Get them on there, and hopefully it'll avoid those extra telephone calls here and there. Right, so do get yourself signed up, do complete the little survey that should pop up as you leave the session. Should take you about a minute max. Let us know what you thought of the webinar, any thoughts, ideas for maybe improving it, topics you'd like to see covered going forward, and hopefully we'll see you on some other webinars very, very soon. Many thanks.